To just get things started, Sam, if you can just tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I've been actually with the brand going on 5 years now. Kind of started off in more of we were quite a small team here on the Gold Coast. So I guess my role was more of a generalist role, looking after kind of, I guess, TX, we call it team experience, which is HR, and also doing recruitment. And then as the business has grown, there was a real need at the time for someone to kind of jump in and head up that kind of talent attraction recruitment space. So I was fortunate enough to get asked to kind of do that. So over the last probably 5 years, it's been very much about kind of building our org structure and kind of building out that structure. So it's been a really exciting time, I guess, to be within a business, because we kind of started, we're a bit of a startup kind of business. So there's been a lot of opportunity to kind of delve into a number of different things. I mean, in previous roles, it's been very much about kind of stepping into the role and kind of continuing the processes as you see them fit. Whereas within Princess Polly, it's very much about, looking at what other businesses are doing, being innovative and kind of, putting our own stand on things. So I really like that about this business, is the fact that, they're willing to kind of take risks and do things a little bit differently. So, so now kind of obviously overseeing kind of that recruitment function here in our AU business, and dabbling a little bit more whilst our other recruitment manager is on maternity leave, kind of dabbling in some US recruitment as well, which is really cool. So
yeah, so doing some global recruitment, that's definitely got to be a challenge. Can you, for those that don't know, can you tell us a little bit more about Princess Polly and what the business does?
Yeah, so we're a forward fashion retailer servicing, I guess, the 16 to 26-year-old female with on-trend fashion. We kind of cover off everything from dresses, tops, pants, right through to kind of accessories. The business is really progressive. We kind of started off with bricks and mortar stores. Our CEOs kind of closed them down and decided to go fully online. And I guess all of our content is done organically here on site. So we've got a team that is really good at kind of getting it across socials. We kind of started off on Facebook, but realized Facebook wasn't so cool. And now we're certainly, I guess, trending with that kind of generation to be like, okay, now we're going on TikTok and obviously Instagram. But yeah, everything's done organically here. We've got an amazing shoot team that get the product kind of out to our customers.
That's great. And I know I was looking at your LinkedIn before this, and I saw that prior to Princess Polly, I think it was a couple of jobs ago, you actually worked in a government HR and recruitment role. So I'd be curious to learn from you what the differences are going from that type of organization to the one you're at now, that, like you said, is trying to be very innovative and is willing to take risks. If you could just expand on what some of those differences are.
Yeah, really. It's interesting actually, because I kind of, formally studied at university and kind of came out of uni, with kind of a degree in event management, and wasn't really sure about what I was going to do. And I had a friend at the time working in government, so she kind of said, oh, look, there's an opportunity in a recruitment team. And I was like, oh, recruitment, HR, I'm not really sure about that. And she's like, no, I think you'll be really good. Like your skills, you as a person align quite well to it. So I started off in government, and to be honest, government I think is really good, especially if you're wanting to kind of grow and learn. There's a lot of opportunities for growth there. But I guess the change from there to here is very much about, and we say it all the time in our team meetings, it's about kind of taking that corporate HR hat off and being more of a people kind of person within our business. And we obviously follow like legislation under the HR brand, but very much about kind of taking that hat off and being like a real people person around how we're delivering things to our customers, and being that business partner, which is really lovely. So it's a very different environment in the HR space. Government's quite legislative and everything has to go a certain way, whereas here it's very agile and innovative, which, has been a bit of a shift. But now it'd be interesting. I don't know how I would shift back into an environment like that, because I really love the fact that we can deliver really innovative things here at Princess Polly.
Yeah, that's great. And so you mentioned, being a people person and what you guys are really focused on at Princess Polly. And I'd be curious to learn, like you said, you've got content creators internally that are putting a ton of stuff out on social, on TikTok, a little bit of Facebook, Instagram, and other channels as well. And I imagine there's a certain voice or brand message that they're trying to put out with that type of content. How much do you guys try and align your recruitment messaging with this stuff that the company's putting out to its broader audience?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think, and it's certainly something that we're kind of looking to work on this year as a brand. We've got a brand manager that was kind of internally appointed early last year, and she's focusing on that consistency of our brand messaging out to our customers. And first of all, that was probably more around kind of the customer service side of things, but now we're looking at kind of internally, how do we do that? And I think we are really trying hard this year to really push our inside business out to our externals. So really showing, our candidate pools and our customers what we do inside here, because I think that's what really counts. We've got an amazing office environment that we work in. We've got resources that are called community managers that, make healthy treats and do these awesome events across our business, which I think we need to celebrate. And I think moving forward, our LinkedIn company page and website, and also our recruitment tools are going to really reflect that moving forward. We really want to push that brand out to kind of increase, I guess, our candidate pipelines and also increase that customer return. I think the business does really well. We do some awesome events, like we've recently celebrated Mardi Gras, where we had a drag queen come in and do drag queen trivia with us, and we just had an awesome afternoon. We have a dog day where all of our staff bring in their dogs and we celebrate our furry friends. So I think the business does really well in kind of those programs across the business. Obviously, everyone works super hard, but we also like to have a bit of fun on the side, which I think we should celebrate more of.
Yep, for sure. And as I hear you talk about taking the corporate HR hat off and the emphasis with your content creators on the type of content that's going out on social and what you guys are trying to do on the recruitment side and showing people what it's like to work there and the fun things that you guys do and the culture that makes up the organization. The word for me that comes to mind as I hear you talk about this is authentic. And, I think that brands are starting to realize that when they're trying to attract customers is, you can advertise your products and services as much as you want, and you can push that content at people. But really what people are engaging with today is more of the type of content that's authentic and that is real people. And so I think, you guys leaning into focusing on that type of content that shows what it's like to work there and just showing behind the scenes, a day in the life type of stuff will really resonate with your audience.
Yeah, and I think because obviously our brand focuses on that Gen Z kind of age bracket, a lot of them are finishing school or heading into university and kind of really unsure about their kind of path. And a lot of them, I guess, connect with the brand because of the people that work here. So for example, our creative director, Kim, and our stylist, Shah, they really are fangirls of our staff. So it's about kind of putting the staff out there, because I think people are not only attracted to a brand, but they're also attracted to the people that work within that brand. And I think for us, it's about getting out there and, having employee testimonials on our website and having that throughout our recruitment process and being a bit more innovative in the way that we attract people to our brand. Because, those are the people that in time, once they finish their degrees and stuff like that, they're going to be wanting to work for our brand.
So for you guys, it's interesting because I can see a lot of your customers wanting to become employees because they're fans of the brand and they're passionate about what you guys offer. And so that's where, to me, it seems like there's got to be strong alignment between, the recruitment team and the content marketing team, because there's this, give and take where, potential employees are customers now and they're seeing the content you put on now. And if they're going to be employees later, like the messaging and the content that you guys put out has to be consistent. It has to feel like the same brand. So I think, that sounds like it's something that's going to be important for you guys moving forward. How many employees do you guys have now?
Good question. We've probably got about, overall, we've probably got about 75 permanent staff here in our HQ. It's kind of a bit of a flex depending on like seasonal growth in our distribution centre. We have a DC that's based here in Nerang. Majority of them are a casual workforce, but they obviously deal with the product and get it out to our customers. But usually there's about 100 staff, and there's a few permanent staff there, and we're obviously increasing numbers in our US operation. But we'd probably be sitting at around probably 200, 250 staff overall.
Okay, cool. And can you walk me through, like, what are some of the main positions that you guys are recruiting for typically?
Yeah, so we, particularly here in our HQ, we're kind of like our corporate servicing departments, and along with our merchandising and marketing departments are our biggest departments here. So, at the moment, we're looking to backfill like a senior buyer. We've got we recruit for customer service roles, marketing. We've got a huge performance marketing team, which has grown massively over the last couple of years. So we recruit for them. We also have IT, finance, HR, which we call team experience based here. So yeah, it's a number of different roles. We've also got kind of like specialist roles that sit within probably like more of our merchandising department. So that being like our fashion designers, material planners. We also have a social responsibilities team, which is a new team that we've created here. So yeah, that's majority of the roles that I recruit for.
It's a wide variety. How many people are on your team?
Just me at the moment.
Just you? What?
Just me at the moment. I obviously report into kind of the HR director that sits here in our AU business. The team's probably about 7 of us overall, and we've also got some staff in the US. But at the moment, it's pretty much me just looking after the recruitment, and then with Brianna away on maternity leave at the moment, the US team is kind of taking the brunt of roles over there, and I'm having a bit of involvement in them.
Got it. And so with it being just you and you've got all those different positions, how many hiring managers would you say that you're interacting with on a daily or weekly basis?
Yeah, probably like, up to 10 managers that I'm dealing with on a weekly basis. I think also given the fact that I'm really fortunate enough that I've been here for 5 years, I've built some really great relationships with those hiring managers. And I think, once you place one candidate in their department, you kind of get a understanding of, I guess, what they're looking for and the team makeup and stuff like that. So I think as I've been in the business for longer, I find that I'm probably a bit more successful on my time to hire because, I understand their needs and I understand their business, and then I'm able to kind of, find the right people at the right time for them, which is great.
That's awesome. And now certainly some of that comes from, like you said, experience and just, working there for 5 years and working alongside these colleagues when you're recruiting for their open positions. But what are some other things that you do to better learn about the roles that you need to help them hire for and collaborate with them when you're recruiting for those roles? And just generally, how are you building better relationships with your hiring managers?
Yeah, so usually when we've got a position, like a position's become kind of active within the business, generally I will, the hiring manager will provide the JD, but generally it's about jumping on a call with them and doing like a manager kind of intake session with them where we talk about kind of, the role, who it reports into, all those kind of basic things. And then we kind of deep dive a little bit further and talk about kind of the soft skills that they would be wanting to fill this role with. What's their what is their ideal candidate look like, experience, skills, etc. Some businesses that are doing it really well. And a lot of the time, I think the brand Princess Polly, we put our ad out here in Australia, usually through Seek and obviously LinkedIn. And then depending on the role, sometimes our social teams will activate it on our socials, which can really kind of ramp up kind of our candidate pool. We've seen that particularly in the past with graphic designers, video editors, photographers, applying directly through those social posts. And then just working really collaboratively with the managers. And I'm pretty, I'm pretty easygoing, and I like them to feel like they can be, I guess, honest with me when it comes to kind of candidates. And I said to them, the more feedback that they provide to me throughout the process, the quicker I'm gonna hit the mark when it comes to like a suitable candidate. And I guess kind of since obviously interacting with Spark has also been fantastic in the sense that I find the recruitment process sometimes is like, judging a book by its cover, and resumes, there should be like information put out there about resumes, because some resumes are just awful and you kind of look at them and just kind of, skim past them and don't really kind of deep dive into them. Whereas I found with Spark, it's allowed us to really kind of open up our candidate pools. And I think for us as a business, we're really trying to stand by, diversity, inclusion and belonging, and looking at candidates from a wide variety of backgrounds and wide variety of kind of genders, race, etc. And I think Spark has been really instrumental in opening up our candidate pools and kind of allowing us to kind of view the candidate, at face value, and getting them to really kind of sell themselves alongside their resume, which I think has been great. And all of our hiring managers have just absolutely loved the platform, because, if you show them the resume, they were like, oh, we probably wouldn't have even looked at that candidate, but now they're Spark here, we're just like blown away by them. And it's like, yeah, it comes back to that. Yeah, don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And we'll definitely come back to that. But I think that's one of the underlying benefits that people often don't realize when we're initially talking to them about Spark Hire, is that it allows you to open up the talent pool, because right now, based on time constraints, you can only talk to so many individuals. So if you're going to prioritize who you're going to talk to, you might do that just based on a resume and only move forward 10 people. But with this type of interview, you have the ability to open up the talent pool, hear from more people, allow them to expand on their resume and give more context. And then ultimately what we find is many organizations will uncover candidates that they may not have advanced if they were using traditional screening methods just based on time constraints, that now they give that opportunity to, and they uncover, this is a great candidate and we want to move quickly with them through the process. So it's great to hear you say that. Just jumping back a bit, can you take me through, like, and I know you just mentioned some of the things, like you're posting the job on Seek and other job boards on social, and you're doing a Spark Hire interview, but can you just walk me through end to end what the general stages are of your hiring process?
Yeah, so obviously, approval to move forward with a role would come through. Hiring managers would, work on that JD in collaboration with our TX team. Then we would obviously put the role out to advertise. We do kind of like an initial screening, and then now we're pushing candidates through to Spark Hire for them to complete their initial screening. Once that's completed, we would send that across to the hiring managers along with their resumes to move forward to the next stage. At this stage, we're still kind of doing some initial screening by myself and the candidate, where I'll kind of deep dive more into kind of their spark and question them along kind of some of our values, and talk through kind of what's motivating them to apply, etc. And then the next stage would then be them having an interview directly with the hiring manager. Once that is completed, usually then it's going through to reference checks, and we use a system called Crosscheck. Once that's completed, then we go to the final approval on the offer, and then go to offer with a candidate.
Seems like a pretty quick process. Typically, what would you say end to end it takes for you guys to fill a role? I know it can vary, but generally, how long does it take to run a process like that?
Yeah, look, it's kind of split by, I guess we have defined kind of time to hires depending on annualized salary. So, anything under like 60 grand plus super would be generally within that kind of 30-day turnaround. Anything from around 60 to kind of 85 would be around that 45-day turnaround. And then that obviously goes up. But generally, depending on the hiring manager's, I guess, motivation to fill the role in a sense, like we, for those entry level roles like our customer experience representatives or, image editors where it's a trainable skill or, some of our kind of accounts payable roles. Generally we're really fortunate that our distribution center has, casual staff members that are kind of working towards degree qualifications in a number of different areas. So, for some of those roles, I'm a big advocate for internal promotions and succession planning. So if the hiring manager is open to it, we will generally kind of open the role up internally and attract candidates from our distribution centre for those, entry-level roles. But for the harder to fulfil roles, obviously we go back out to market. But we're really trying hard as a brand to kind of look internally and give those opportunities for kind of succession planning and kind of career advancement within the business.
That's huge. Yeah. I mean, first of all, for you guys as a business, it's great because if you can promote somebody internally, it's one less person you have to go out externally and hire and spend the time and money to do so. But it's great for the employee because they get to grow. And then it's also great for your broader recruitment process because you can use those stories and, like you mentioned, the employee testimonials and that type of content you're trying to put out. That type of stuff is so powerful when you can get that in front of potential employees and they can actually, a lot of companies talk about we promote from within, you grow in your career here and, all those types of things. But you guys can actually show a demonstrated track record of that.
Yeah, and I think it just provides such an opportunity for, those individuals as well because, our team at the DC, our HR team at the DTC does such a fantastic job on kind of attracting candidates who align with our kind of company values. So they're already kind of ticking that mark. So for them to be then attracted over to our HQ is just such a big win from all ends. Like we recently had a uni graduate finish her accounting degree. She was kind of on the verge of looking externally and we had an accounts payable role come available and it was only the fact that I'm a big advocate for it and so are some of the TX team over at our DT where they were like, oh my gosh, I've got the perfect candidate. So it was such a quick turnaround and she was just over the moon to be able to kind of still stay with the brand and start to kind of really put her degree qualifications into action. So it's a win-win for everyone and certainly for her. She's so excited for her journey within HQ. So
and for you guys, you already know that it's somebody that aligns with the values and is a good team member and steward of the business. And similarly, they already know generally, even though it's at a different facility and a different role, they know what it's like to work with you guys and they're aligned with the values. So to your point, it's a win-win once they get those skills. And if you've got an open position, it's kind of a no-brainer at that point. Just jumping back to the hiring process, can you give me some insight on, I know you mentioned there's the initial Spark hire screen, then you have a call with candidates, then hiring managers have a final round interview. How early on, though, do hiring managers get involved with the decision making? Like when you're getting resumes coming through, I'm assuming you're screening those and advancing them to a Spark hire interview. Then what happens from there? What's the collaboration process look like on, are they evaluating every interview or a short list or, maybe you can share some details there.
Yeah, so I'll obviously shortlist through kind of Spark Hire and send, I guess, the top options through to hiring managers. I'll also provide, I guess, in that kind of submittal email, my professional opinion on who I think is most suitable for the role. But I guess at the end of the day, it certainly comes down to the hiring manager's opinion to kind of move forward to that kind of initial screening stage. So yeah, they'd be involved fairly early on, in the process to align with those candidates.
That's great. And then, obviously things have been going well for you guys as a business. You're growing, you got a US operations now spinning up and you're hiring over there. So that's all good. But what are some of the challenges that you guys have been facing in the hiring process?
Yeah, interesting. I think, one of the probably biggest challenges that we've found, recently is, and this was probably prior to kind of COVID, our office is based here on the Gold Coast, which is an hour away from Brisbane, but I think we were faced with challenges around kind of that relocation piece, particularly when we look at some of those merchandising roles like fashion designers, buyers, etc. A lot of them work for other brands based in kind of Sydney and Melbourne, and I think the relocation part was quite a challenge because it's such an emotional thought process. It's not just about you applying for a job and accepting it. It's about applying for the job and essentially looking at your family situation or your life situation and upheaving that to kind of move to the Gold Coast. And I think the Gold Coast life is fairly appealing in the sense that, it's a beautiful work-life balance. You've got the beach and you've also got like a city, and it's a really beautiful spot, but, a lot of times it's not for everyone. So I think that was a big challenge, but I think, moving into COVID and the opening up of kind of, this remote working opportunity and us being more of a hybrid business, we've started to attract candidates, and we've got some candidates that work completely remote. We've got a senior buyer that sits in Melbourne. We've got one of our performance marketing managers who sits in Sydney. So we're very open to that, and I think technology has allowed us to continue to build, I guess, that culture with those employees, having them fully remote. I guess in the last probably 12 months, it's been a very candidate heavy, like candidates are able to kind of deter what they want and what they don't want. So I think that's probably been an interesting one that we've faced over the last probably 12 months, just, with inflation and everything happening. Certainly salaries have really started to go outside of range, and I guess people are candidates are looking for top salaries. So it's been about kind of being agile around how do we attract candidates and still stay within budget, has been probably something where we've faced probably over the last 12 months.
And what are some of the things you guys are doing about that now to try and stay competitive? Because the budget's the budget, right? So like you said, you might have to get a little bit creative.
Yeah, well, I think, that creative piece comes down to, being, allowing candidates to work fully remotely, allowing candidates to kind of be open to location as well. So, we attracted kind of an example was we attracted a merchandising director who was based at the time in the UK. We obviously looked at kind of engaging her, and to bring her over in Australia at the time was quite challenging. So we've actually moved her to the US, and she's working there with the hopes that she'll be able to kind of come here in Oz in time. I think we've been a bit more flexible in kind of looking at, how do we attract candidates and what are candidates really wanting. Yes, some people are motivated by salary, but not all candidates are motivated by salary. So what are we doing as an employer to really attract that? We've kind of introduced parental leave kind of policy, which is something that we haven't done in the past, which obviously attracts that female candidate as well. And being a female brand, we've got, a large amount of our staff are females. So I think that's a big win that we've had happen over the last 12 months, which obviously attracts people as well.
Yeah, definitely. So it's about thinking about, if the dollars are fixed, how can we be creative with other policies and perks and work-life balance to really make it a more compelling offer? And then I think, a lot of it also comes down to where does that person want to work? Which company's values do they align with? What are they passionate about? And sometimes that can help overcome, some compensation challenges. But to your point, every candidate's different. Some things are more important to some people than others. So for you guys, it's about being creative and flexible and doing what it takes to stay competitive in a market like it is today. Um, and what, looking ahead for you guys, like what are some of the things you're focused on for the rest of 2023 and beyond? Are there any big initiatives on your guys' plate?
Yeah, well, I think for us as a business, I think given obviously what's happening outside, like the climate, inflation, and stuff like that, I think for us it's about, making sure that our business continues to grow in challenging times. I think across the business, that sustainability piece is a really big one for us moving forward, looking at making sure that, 60% of our products are more sustainable, which I think is a big win. We're going to be looking at kind of doing a lot more organic stuff in-house, looking at kind of changing our brand a little bit and making it a bit more cleaner and a bit more on edge, to our customers. So we've kind of recently looked at doing that with the opening of our new studio, which is such a beautiful space. It's very clean and bright, and yeah, I think that'll change kind of the outlook of our brand. From a HR perspective, certainly we are kind of moving towards more kind of learning. We've got kind of an L&D specialist that focuses on continual learning for our staff. So we've got like the LinkedIn learning platform where staff are able to do self-directed learning, whether that be in line with their position or in line with kind of developing other soft skills to better themselves within the business. We've got a leadership program that, staff are, tapped on the head to say, would you like to be involved in the leadership program, which runs over a year. And I think the other thing is that, we've put a lot of time and energy into kind of that diversity, inclusion and belonging. So I think we'll see a lot of change happen in that space. So that'll be around kind of different initiatives across the business. So L&D, HR, the events that we align to, and then also our branding.
That's awesome. It sounds like you guys are investing a lot internally to help people upskill and grow within the business, and are investing in a lot of the right areas. And like you mentioned, in a market that's tougher today, maybe hiring is a little bit slower. But if you invest in these foundational areas, when hiring does pick back up, these are things that you could take to market when you're speaking to candidates, and things that you can talk to that are going to help you attract people, like learning and development, the leadership training, DE&I initiatives, like all these things, make your recruitment message more powerful when volume picks back up, when the market turns around eventually.
Yeah, I think as a business, we're as I said before, we're pretty agile with what's kind of happening at the time, and we're obviously looking, we're very on point with what's happening at the time. Particularly in our US market, we've obviously partnered with PacSun, and we've got some of our product in store, which is something that's very new for us. And we're obviously looking to kind of continue that growth for this year as well. And then kind of looking from a customer perspective, we've obviously kind of got the AU market, the Australian market, we've got the US market now. We're starting to look at kind of that UK, Asian market, and how do we attract those customers to our brand. So yeah, I think it's, I think for me, and I think partly why, I've been within the business for 5 years, and, that's not a very long time. There's been people who have been in the business from the get-go, but certainly I think for me, partly why I've been so connected to the brand is, I've gone on maternity leave twice, and the brand's been super flexible with kind of allowing me to return to work at my own time, in my own way kind of thing, which I think's been beautiful. They're very family orientated. They're very much about, what comes first, your family comes first, and we'll commit to that, which I think's beautiful. The innovation piece, I think, it's exciting internally to be able to do things that are innovative. And I think the brand does that really, really well. And then I think overall, it's just about the people that work here. We've got a really beautiful workforce. You know, everyone gets along really well. You know, when we are able to kind of take our hats off, you know, our HR hats, our marketing hats, and have a good time, everyone generally has a really awesome time. And yeah, we kind of get along really well, which is awesome.
It's a great message, and it kind of comes back to what we were talking about at the beginning of this conversation when, we're talking about being authentic. And from what I just heard from you and your experience at Princess Polly, I'm sure that resonates when you're talking to candidates on phone calls is your story and your experience there. Like I can feel that energy from you of like, it's authentic. Like you've truly had a wonderful experience here. The people are great. And you've been there for 5 years. So obviously, things are pretty good. So I think that really shows, you just being able to be authentic and tell your story and your experience and be able to relay that to candidates is probably something that's pretty powerful, when you're speaking to folks throughout the hiring process. So, one thing I'm wondering about, you mentioned you're running the recruitment process pretty much solo, but it sounds like you have your hands in a lot of areas of the business, like a lot of things that are going on from a strategic level. So how, as an individual running the recruitment process for a growing company, are you building? We talked about building relationships with hiring managers, but also with leadership to make sure that what the strategic direction is and how you as an individual focused on recruitment can help contribute to that.
Yeah, I think I'm really fortunate within my position that my role generally sits within that leadership team. So we get together at the beginning of the year to do like a kickoff meeting where we all discuss kind of what were some of the things that we as a business we achieved last year and what is it that we want to achieve in this year. So yeah, I've been involved in that, which has been really good because it kind of allows you to kind of have the fundamental understanding of each of those departments and be able to really sell it, because I guess my role in the recruitment space is really be an advocate for those departments and really kind of attract the candidates to apply for those departments. And I think also too, just kind of being on site and being available to those hiring managers and listening to where they're going and what their teams are involved in, I think has been really crucial in my success in my role, because I think, if you got your ear to the ground, you know what's happening, you're really able to push that out to your, the candidates and also the customers. But yeah, I think, we do really well about, as a business, to communicate down. So, we have every Monday, we have a midday meeting where our senior leaders jump on a call and give us an update. So, our marketing director will give a marketing update. Our merchandising director will give an update. Ian, who's our general manager, will basically give an update on the week and how we're tracking. And then we have like TX update as well. So I think, everyone feels from those Monday meetings, you feel really connected to the brand and what's happening across a number of different departments. And I think collaboration, across those departments is key for the success of our business. And we're really encouraging people to be more collaborative.
That's awesome. And one of the things that stood out to me, and I love that you said this, because a lot of times when I think about recruitment and I'm talking to recruiters, we talk about like, oh, you've got to sell the vision, sell the job, sell the candidate on coming into work here, sell, sell, sell. But I love that you use the word advocate, and that you're an advocate for those departments. You're an advocate for those hiring managers. It's not about selling and, push, again, going back to like push and pull with the type of content that you deliver. It's not about like pushing the candidate to come work for us. It's about being an advocate for what you guys are doing internally and being authentic in how you share that message with your candidates. And then the candidates either choose to opt into that or opt out of that. But either way, they're getting like an authentic view on, why they should work here. And so I love that you use the term advocate versus, selling.
Yeah, and I think recruiters can be kind of, yeah, on a bit of a, sometimes I think recruiters have a bad name about them because they, yeah, definitely are about kind of selling. But I think that's, I had an opportunity, in my career to kind of go and do external recruitment. And though I loved it, the hype of it was like amazing. And certainly there was lots of energy and lots of buzz around kind of external recruitment. But I think for me, it's like I struggled with the alignment to the brands that I was working for, whereas I think as an internal recruiter, you can really kind of, I guess, yeah, as I said, advocate for that brand and really stand there and say, well, this is why I love being a part of this business. Whereas when I was doing external recruitment, it was kind of like it was a really selling kind of role, trying to get people into roles where you really didn't know, it was your words, not really how you felt about it. And I think that's why I've really loved kind of this internal kind of recruitment space, because you actually are the advocate for the business and you are the advocate for the brand, and it's not hard to then talk to a candidate about it because you live and you breathe it every single day. So
100%. And that's the thing with being authentic, is if you can share that message with candidates and share your personal experience and just present information, candidates can make that decision themselves. If they align
yeah.
with the business and the products you guys offer and the culture you have and the values that you guys live by, they can figure that out if you just present the information and share personal experiences, whether it be yours or whether it be other employees through, other pieces of content, like you mentioned, employee testimonial videos, day in the life type of videos, stuff you guys post on social. Just putting that in front of candidates can help them make that decision for themselves. So it's not always, so much that you have to work so hard to sell them on why they should come here. You just need to present them with information and help them make that decision for themselves. And, then ultimately, hopefully you get people that are going to be there for the long term because they've opted in to, come work for you based on, the experiences that you've shared with them.
Yeah, and I think that essentially, yeah, as you said, it probably helps with our retention as well. We're certainly seeing that in the way that the brand has grown. We've got some staff who obviously started with them as a startup business, and they're still here today. So, getting those individuals to talk about their journey, I think, is really important to get that across to kind of candidates applying. And I would love, something that is on my wish list for in the business is I'd love to do like a kind of a video where, we just get someone to come in and video like just a day in a life here at Princess Polly, because it's, yeah, honestly, it's the most beautiful office I've ever worked in before. They've put a lot of money into it. Some of the spreads that they put on for breakfast and yeah, stuff like that. I think it's just so amazing. And I've never worked for a brand that's ever given me breakfast. So I think that is just like,
You got to show it off.
Some
Yeah.
people aren't foodies, but yeah, it's a real big draw factor, I think. And that's just here. Like that's just the norm for our business. So yeah, hopefully in Q4 of this year, we're going to do a bit of work around kind of our branding, and hopefully we can get some budget to kind of do, an employee EVP kind of video.
That's great. Well, Sam, this has been awesome. I really appreciate your time. It was great to learn more about the hiring process at Princess Polly and everything that you guys are up to. And I'm sure everybody that watches this is going to take a lot of insight away and take some ideas away as well that they can start to implement at their organization.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time. It was lovely to chat with you, and I hope you have a lovely evening.
Thank you. Thank you.